So let me just break it down for you in the simplest way for everyone listening on what brand management is. The first thing that you need to know is a brand manager becomes the CEO of the brand. The other thing is you're the custodian of the brand. You decide and you uphold the integrity of the brand. If I have to again break it down to the 4 things that a brand manager does, the first thing is to find out what your target user wants, making sure all the marketing campaigns, all your branding campaigns are all in alignment to the brand vision and what your target audience wants. The third thing is implementing it in the market. Is it reaching your target user? Is your brand being perceived the same way that you want it to be? And the fourth thing is learn from everything that you've done before and redo it if it doesn't work for you.
Hi everyone, welcome to Masters Union. In today's segment, we'll talk about alternative careers. So what we realize is that, post MBA or post undergrad as well, a lot of students end up in very similar looking careers in consulting or in engineering or in marketing, right? But some of our students have actually gone on to do very interesting things, right? And take up very interesting roles, which are sort of out of the ordinary. So today we have Puja Arti. She's one of our students from the very first cohort of Masters Union. And she's currently a brand manager at Absolute Foods. Brand management is something that is used very loosely as a term. So today we'll get to know Puja, we'll get to know Absolute Foods, and we'll get to know brand management in a little bit more detail. Looking forward to exploring it with all of you guys. Hi Puja, how are you?
Doing really well, Pratham. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I mean, it's now almost been 1 year since you graduated.
6 months, yes.
6 months?
You've forgotten me already, but that's okay.
6 months, okay. So it's been 6 months and you've been now working at Absolute Foods.
Yes.
And we'll talk a lot about that. We'll talk about a role that you're currently in, which is brand management.
Yes.
Lots of questions there. But essentially, I want to cover 3 things today, right? So first, I want to cover Puja.
Okay.
Right? I want to get to know you. I mean, I know you, but for the sake of the audience, we want to get to know you better.
Definitely.
Your Masters Union experience, your interviewing experience, all of that. Of course, your background, I know you were a lawyer in the beginning, and then you went through tides and turns. So we'll cover all of that. And then, of course, we'll talk about Absolute Foods, because I think they're doing some very interesting things.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people know the kind of interesting things that Absolute is doing. So we'll talk about that. And finally, we'll talk about brand management.
Sure.
And that's really the core of the conversation today, because brand management is a term that is thrown around.
Yes.
Like it means everything and nothing. So I think we'll distill that down a little bit more, because we have a lot of students in our current cohort, as well as in the future cohorts, I'm sure, and audience outside, that's interested in brand management, that's interested in marketing, but they have no idea within marketing or within brand management what it is that the job entails.
Definitely. I'll try answering that. I don't know if I'll be able to answer exactly what brand management is, because it's as liquid as it can get, but
Okay.
I'll at least with
So
my
maybe
own
we'll understand
experience,
it's,
we can. Yes.
we'll understand the liquidity of it,
Yes.
I guess then. Awesome. So Puja, you started off as a lawyer. So tell me about that. Why did you decide to do law?
Okay, so just little context. I belong to a family of engineers. And I knew I wasn't meant to be one. I did write all the exams that you can think of, from IIT, JEE to IIEEE, but
Really?
then, yes, but then my scorecards came and my parents knew that I wasn't meant to be one. And the other thing that I was really, really interested in was communication and leadership. I'd shown this early on. So I knew that I wanted to be something somewhere where I could use my communication skills really well, and law was the next best thing that I wanted to do, apart from, of course, being the president of India.
Okay, of course,
so
yeah.
when in my 12th standard itself, I knew what I was going to do, and hence I gave all the law entrance exams. Ended up in an okay college.
So you took the JEE and the CLAT?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you were really confused.
I'm a quintessential Indian
Okay.
student just getting out. They don't know what they want to do, so we'll do everything that we can. I did just that, did law for 5 years, loved the course, hated the college.
Oh, wow.
So did that, fell in love with a couple of subjects, especially in terms of taxation, everything that led me to meet more people there.
Okay.
Talk about their problems. The very, I'd say the third world problems se lekar ke you reach all the rich people problems. I've seen all of that, but the one subject that really interested me was labor law.
Okay.
Where I've met people who really face these problems. Plus another added context, my father is an engineer who has worked in steel plants all his life. So he was the one who told me all the real problems that happen on ground, where these people are not paid fair wages, because India, although it has an act, it doesn't really, has not implemented the way that it could have. So I got to know that problem, read about that for a whole year, did my whole background. My co-founder, then partner, we sat down and we decided to do something in this space. So we created a marketplace for construction stakeholders.
Interesting. Okay.
So an industry which
So this
is
was when you were still in college?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because the industry is so disorganized, they have no representation. Everything that you've done, they had done before this was only through word of mouth, or somebody says, hey, hire this person, they might be good. Now, this was before the world of urban company and live spaces and all of that. So we created that platform, the supply side and the demand side, had a lot of interested people, did a lot of interesting projects there. So I started this up while I was still in college. So
what was this called?
It was called Buildin.
Okay.
Very simple. That time the nomenclature was as simple as, hey, you want to build something? Come build with us. So Buildin. So my partner and I ran that for a year, the marketplace, pivoted it to make it more business profitable. We pivoted to providing a couple of these services in-house. So we had the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule. The 20% of our income was coming from the 80% of the services that we were providing on the marketplace.
80% of your income was...
Yes,
yeah,
80%
of income.
from 20% of the services that we were providing. So we doubled down on those. Made quite a lot of name for us in the market, had a couple of
And
investors.
This is all, you're still a student?
This was just when I graduated.
Okay.
So the first year was while I was still in college. The pivot happened the moment I graduated.
Got it.
Because I had my whole time dedicated to building.
So sorry, so you said you did this with a co-founder. How did you guys meet?
We met through a student organization called ISEC. Brilliant organization. If you want to meet people while you're still in college, meet like-minded people. I was sort of, you can call it the student manager then for international exchanges. He wanted to go on an exchange. We ended up talking. He already had a design firm. So his vision was more towards architecture and designing beautiful things, while mine was, hey, let's make lives easier. So we married these two goals and created Buildin.
Got it. Got it. And so this is right after college. And so how was that experience of building Buildin?
I think it's one of my best experience till date after MU.
Yeah.
But the whole the pleasure of starting something from scratch, knowing the first slide that you've created while you name that company, to what you're going to do, to how you will pivot later, to the kind of target group that you're going after, the grit that you put. You haven't slept for 4 days trying to build in that business canvas model, which is really important.
Were your parents supportive of this?
Yes. I think why I could do all of this in a time where my classmates were joining the trilegals of the world was because my parents said, it's okay, take your time, you are passionate about something. We'd like you to see, at least try. It's okay if you fail, but then don't give up without trying.
So you were a lawyer.
Yes.
First a woman lawyer, and then a woman in construction space.
Yes.
Which is essentially a very male-dominated.
Yes, still.
Right?
Yes.
It still is, yes. So was that hard?
I'd say it was hard a bit, but not something that's not maneuverable. It's quite easy if you take a stand and say, don't call me a woman entrepreneur. Just call me an entrepreneur. That has happened to me a couple of times. If I go to networking events, they'll say, hey, come, you're a woman entrepreneur. How does it feel? I said, the same challenges, maybe just something added, just because I'm from the opposite gender. But otherwise, the problems still remain the same. You still face the same challenges if you want to fundraise. You still have those same marketing challenges. You're maybe smarter in maneuvering them.
No, but there is this metric that of all the people who fundraise, or of all the founders who fundraise, only 2% are women, right? That's actually a statistic that I read on, I think, Sequoia's website. So that obviously means that when women are fundraising, it's harder for them.
Yes.
Right?
I'd say the problem is more grassrooted. There are not enough entrepreneurs. There are not enough women entrepreneurs who want to take that plunge. Yes. The moment that number dwindles, automatically the number of women raising funds automatically.
So you're saying the problem is at the top of the funnel, not at the middle or the bottom of the funnel.
Yes.
Okay.
The problem is as women, we are taught to be very docile and do things which are very acceptable. Being entrepreneurs, not being one of them.
Of course. Especially in construction.
Yes.
Right.
That was another added challenge.
So how long did you run Buildin?
I ran that for 4 years, took 2 pivots, raised a little bit of seed capital from one of our well-wishers and investors. It was on a debt equity. Then about...
Oh, was debt or equity?
Debt.
It was debt?
Yes.
Okay.
Then...
How old were you at this time?
I was 24.
So at 24, you took out debt for a construction company.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I did not know about this about you.
Okay.
Yeah? Very cool.
So did that, and one of our first goals was to get rid of the debt because we had, I mean, the money we needed it for, we built the team out. We had the little bit of technology that we needed. We could acquire customers. So we also returned the money before time. So we wanted to give it back to this angel investor, if you can call him, which we did, which was one of my highlights, that even though I took money, I could generate enough profit to give it back and keep my team happy at the same time and not take money from any other investor post that. Post that is when we were completely bootstrapped. We did enough profit for a team of 15, had enough money in the bank, is when I think we were doing pretty well, but what I also realized, now I'll talk about why it only lasted for 4 years. Okay. In the final year, I'd say, the last year of Buildin, we realized that we did not have any competitive advantage. There was no way that you could differentiate us from all the other companies that were coming in. And the moment you don't have a USP, you get into a price war. And the price war is not a sustainable thing. People with bigger pockets will come and eat you out.
Correct.
That is exactly what happened with us. There were companies like LiveSpace and Home Lane and...
they started coming around the same time.
They started coming with much bigger pockets because the people who were running these shows were the pedigree students, if I can call them. And again, I'll tell you why the pedigree tag, I'm talking about it right now. So they could raise a lot of money in much lesser time and they could easily take on us, which they did. And it took us a little longer to realize that technology or other USPs could have helped us out in creating something different than others.
Correct.
But we couldn't scale up as soon as or as fast as we wanted to.
And so how large was your team?
We were 15 of us
15,
then.
okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
apart from the 2 co-founders. So a team of project managers, designers, and other supporting staff.
Got it.
Marketing
So how did you hire your first 15 people? What was that experience like? I mean, was it hard to bring people on board?
Yes, especially when you're a startup at 0. I'm not even going to say 10 as of now. So at 0, all you can sell is yourself and the idea because they don't see you don't have credibility in the market as of now, as of then. So they have to listen to your idea, really get sold that the company is going to become big, or at least will help them grow. So I'd say the first 2 or 3 hires were the most important ones, and it usually comes through your network. People who know you refer other people. It only happens when somebody else has vouched for you to somebody else and they'll come work. And exactly what happened. Our first 3 hires were one of them who had worked with me before, so he knew me and he knew my work ethic, and he said he wanted to join me in this in the mission that I had taken up. The other 2 were also similar. Somebody knew me or they knew my co-founder, and they knew that we would achieve something. So they had sort of married into a family because they knew that the 2 people would somehow not let this ship sink.
Yeah. No, the first 15 people, I think, are the most important. They set the culture and the tone for forever to come.
Yes, and they are the cheerleaders who have actually taken that risk. While they could have gone for any other established company, they're coming to a startup where there are no processes. You're going to build that up while you're in it.
Correct. Makes sense. Got it. So you were telling me why you decided to then close it down.
Yes. So we were still in the green. So it was a good time for us because we were not able to pivot as quickly as we wanted to. So we decided to put a halt to it while we both did 2 other things that we wanted to do. My partner was very, very interested in sustainability and the environment. So we moved on to study a little bit more on that, and I moved to another startup for a year.
Was it hard to, how was that decision? Was it hard to take that decision to shut down?
It's really, really tough. So the one thing that really happens is you've spent 4 years doing nothing but this. And if you're an entrepreneur, and you are, so you would know that it becomes your life. Your personal life life merges with your professional life. All you do is talk about Buildin like it's a baby. Exactly what I did. And after 4 years knowing that I will not be talking about Buildin enough or not working, going back to the office that we painted the doors of. It was a little tough, but then your mind has to take over your heart and take more rational decisions at that time, which is not easy. Again, anyone who has shut their startup down will say that it's probably the toughest decision they've taken. But at the end of it, it always works out in the
long run.
best.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. Got it. So your co-founder decided to go into sustainability and study more there. And what did you decide to do?
So I joined another startup. They were just entering India and they wanted somebody to build this out. I was still... I wanted to get into a different, start another venture, but I wasn't sure if this would have been a rebound venture, if I can call it.
Got it.
So I wanted to work for a while and then see how other founders are looking at their startups, which is exactly what I did. I helped this one startup scale from 0 to 10. It was a very community-oriented, women community-oriented startup, which is what I did for a year. Created that base, made the readership, and then I moved on to Masters Union.
Got it. So now this is interesting, right? Lawyer, then in the construction industry, you worked for almost 4 years, and then you helped another company enter India, the India market. So I feel like, I mean, with all the experience backing you up, especially a very rich entrepreneurial experience, why did you think you needed an MBA or a postgraduate program or the Masters Union experience for that matter?
So one thing that I definitely would recommend, and I do that a lot to people, it's really nice when people say, hey, you can learn on the job, but it's also a really nice experience to learn from people who have already done this in the market. So one thing that interested me when I heard about Masters Union was the kind of people who teach us. If it were any regular MBA, I'd probably not be that interested because I knew that people who have already experienced and achieved something in the market were going to come and teach me is what was the selling point for me. And the other thing that really I lacked and I'm still working on is I've always been, because I've always led teams, I always wanted to work under somebody. That was a skill that I wanted to get from Masters Union, which I've tried really hard.
So skill to follow. The skill to follow.
Not to take charge all the time, and also try to see if someone else has better ideas. I was a very, I'd say, a very catty person. If someone talks to me about their ideas and don't like mine, I'd not be the happiest one. And it took me, and my classmates would agree, that it took me about 6 months to let them take charge. But that's one thing that I wanted to
You're a
learn.
natural alpha.
Yes, I'm still a natural alpha, but I've tried to subside that a little bit more.
Got it. No, so what I hear is that had it not been for Masters Union, you probably would not have done your MBA?
No, definitely not.
Okay, got it.
Because of the experience that was promised to us is why I wanted to do... this is not an MBA. I'm not going to call it an MBA.
Correct,
This is an experience that we had. And I think it was a spur of moment decision for me. I saw the course. I think I read about everybody for 2 days, I think, at max. And this was during
So you
COVID.
researched all the masters and
Yes, that was the first thing that you do, right?
Correct.
And
Makes
also
sense.
you don't need to research more about the people because they were already very stalwarts in what they were doing. I mean, you don't need to know who Shashi Tharoor is.
Correct.
Or you don't need to know who Mir Mankad was.
Right.
So it all worked out that way. And my parents were, again, as the great cheerleaders they are, they were very excited about this.
Interesting.
For somebody taking these many career changes, they've been quite patient with me.
Yeah, clearly. I mean,
Yes.
you should really thank them.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
And so that's your decision to come to Masters Union. I get that. And then, today you're in marketing.
Yes.
So how did the Masters Union experience sort of influence you or build you up or, direct you towards what you're doing today?
Sure. So I've always been a marketing bend of a person, if I can say that. Even at Buildin and Glow, where I was working at, I took more the marketing side of things, selling more than just marketing, I'd say, sales and marketing in that case. But I knew that I love talking to people. I love finding out the problems they have and then solve them for them. So I knew that... again, selling things was my calling. And when I came to Masters Union, I think the first day we got a sheet on what do you want to become or where do you see yourself at the end of 16 months, a job profession that you'd want. And I'd written brand manager.
Oh, had you?
Not, yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
that's, now that I think about it, okay, I think I manifested it from day one.
Yeah, there you go.
So, not knowing what brand management was, it just sounded really fancy. I'd seen my friends work at PNGs and HULs and talking about, this is the ad that we have created. Hey, this is what got us so much money. I helped the brand grow from 10x to 100x. So I knew that I wanted to be in that space, not knowing anything about what brand management meant. The first semester, the first term, we had a course on marketing, and I think I scored the lowest.
Oh,
then.
interesting.
Yes.
This is Professor Bhupesh's.
No.
Uh-huh.
Professor Bhupesh's, I think I've been in the top 3 all the
Okay.
time. This was Professor Elkanah.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
Ezekiel, right.
Yes.
Of course, yeah.
So that obviously takes a hit on the ego booster of riding on. I've
He
done
was
marketing
at
before.
Samsung.
Yes, CMO of Samsung then.
Got it, okay.
And Johnson & Johnson before that. So that takes a hit on you. For somebody who knows, I know marketing. I've done this in real life. I can do this. But then when you sit with 63 other people and then say, hey, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I need to unlearn things. Which is exactly what I did. I started taking them in the right spirit and without thinking that I know everything. I came back, I'd say after 2 terms is when I came back with a cleaner slate than I'd started out with. Then is when I really started loving marketing more than I'd loved it before, which is when we had all the courses on consumer behavior, brand management, marketing analytics, if I can say that. Not my most favorite subject, but I started liking it a little bit more. That is what cemented my love towards the whole idea that I wanted to be in this trade. I wanted to help companies sell better. I wanted companies to help package their products better. I wanted them to build a brand, which is what brought me to Absolute, which is what I'm doing right now.
Got it. So I have 2 questions about your Masters Union journey, right? So one is that everyone has to build a dropshipping business.
Yes.
Right? So what was yours?
Mine was very topical. So work from home had just started out.
Right.
So we created something called Nueva, where we would provide you everything that you require for your work from home needs, including exercising things, because you can't go to the gym. So your work from home should also include you being fit. Right. So we had all of that. Again, a great experience. We could sell a couple of things, but mostly through, I'd say, word of mouth. And people, because they liked the 5 of us, they'd buy things from us.
Sure.
And so that is what we did. Not my best project yet, but at least it made me realize that Masters Union is not going to be an easy journey for me.
Got it. And this was before the term even started?
Before even the term started, yes.
Got it. And another, I remember, I think when you guys were studying, some video was doing the rounds where you guys did some ad for
Yes.
Bumble, right?
No. Everyone thinks I was part of the video,
Okay.
but that's not what we created.
Achha, what did you create?
We created a personal, it's a sexual wellness product advertisement, which was also very well received from people. We wanted to take a topic which nobody else would. So we took up an ad which doesn't even air anywhere.
Okay.
This small brand called itspersonal.com. It's under renovation right now, the whole brand itself. We took that and we created a whole... so the moment you hear about sexual wellness, it automatically takes it onto the very taboo parts
Correct.
of it. So we wanted to create a more holistic version on equating that to just wellness. Because that's as important as everything else that you're doing. So we created it around freedom to choose. And I think I'd like to show you. I think I've also put it on LinkedIn.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well,
yes.
I missed it then.
It's a nice, very calming video for a brand that could have been very out there.
Got it. And so if you had to choose 3 experiences or 3 moments or 3 memories from Masters Union that shaped you the most today, looking back, what would those 3 be?
One of them would be, like I said, the first time in marketing when I knew everything and I got the lowest score, even though score didn't matter, but then at least it gives you that jolt of reality check that you're not asked for.
Right.
That is one thing that made me realize
That brought you to the ground floor. Yeah.
Yes, maybe I'm not the best, or maybe I don't know everything. So I have to be more receptive to others and maybe learning from their experiences. The other thing is, one thing that really I think I really like is I was the oldest woman in the batch.
Okay.
So automatically people would start coming to me for advice.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that maybe I don't know everything. they'd equate age to wisdom, and they'd come ask me for advice about everything. That's when I started working on myself more and making sure that when people come ask me for things and advice, if I don't have those answers, I read up about them and then go to them again for those answers. And that's what exactly I did. And throughout college, I think I helped a couple of people, and I could impact their lives in even the smallest way that I could. One of my most exciting experiences was arts of communication again. That was a time when we were all supposed to prepare a 4-minute
that's a course.
speech.
That's a course that
by Professor Mir Vankad. So the exam is something we've never given. We are supposed to give a 4-minute speech, and for that you definitely need to prepare for more than 10 hours because it's nerve-wracking.
That speech.
Talking like this versus rehearsing a speech and coming up and talking in front of your 63 friends and bearing your heart out is something no business student thought they'd do in a school.
Correct.
Which is also teaching us financial modeling and economics. So my best experiences was sitting in the class and listening to my classmates tell their stories. Everyone knew Varun as somebody who could just do, he was really good at finances. But when he came and talked about his journey to becoming what he did, is when we started getting to know him on a level that we didn't expect to. So there were so many stories amongst us that we didn't know, and that was the course that brought it out for all of us and brought the whole cohort closer to each other.
Very interesting.
That's a very that's not a very business school thing that you experience, but then Masters Union made me realize that behind those spreadsheets in Excel, there are real humans who have stories.
Business schools are very competitive, right?
Yes.
You're competing for placements, you're competing for, the Bain, BCG, all of that. So how was your experience forming relationships with your cohort mates? And what are those relationships like today?
So I'd say one thing that really worked, we were a competitive batch, but with ourselves. Nobody competed with each other.
Are you just saying that, or do you mean that?
No, there was no grade. Our grades weren't important. So the whole focus was on learning, which is exactly what everybody
Grades are
did.
important, guys. But continue.
For us, it was. We loved just studying and taking as much as we could. So the relationship was, again, very symbiotic, where everyone wanted to help each other, which is what I've seen. I've gone up to, I think all 63, I've gone up to them to ask for their subject matter expert to understand where they come from, if they can help me out in the things that I was lacking, which was a lot of things. But they were always receptive to teaching me what I did not know. And that has even been till now. So every time we have a product-related problem, I call up Pushpak, and he's always available for me. If I have structuring problem, I'll probably go to Prashasti and say, can you please help me out structure this problem? If let's say I'm preparing for something, I know I have 10 other people I can call and say, hey, take my mock.
Great.
Which is what they did even then, which they do even now. And the network that we formed is much more than just being alums of the same institution. It's gone beyond that.
Very cool. Okay. Awesome. So now I think let's move on to the next stage. We've spoken about Puja and Puja's background. We've spoken about your Masters Union experience. Now I want to talk about your Absolute experience and, of course, being a brand manager. But let's start with, how did you find out about Absolute? How was your interview experience there? How did you make it through?
So I'd say two things happened to me even before I interviewed with Absolute. One of my classmates had interviewed for Absolute already, and he came to me with that glitter in his eyes saying, I think I'm in love with the founder already. And he sat me down for, I think, 30 minutes and explained what went through. And he told me how the vision was, what the vision was, where the company was going after. And me being a very non-believer here, I said, it's Agritech. What's the best that can happen? My first interview was directly with the CHRO, a brilliant man named Ankush, who made it very, very comfortable for me. He asked me about my past experiences, just about what I wanted to do, and no technical questions like, do you know what brand management is? Can you tell me the 3 pillars of brand management? He spoke to me about that, and then I spoke to the director of new initiatives at Absolute. Again, somebody who comes from a great experience of building up brands in great companies like Nestle and J&J. And that was my face-to-face interview at the office, which lasted for less than 15 minutes.
Okay.
He asked me what I wanted to do in the next 5 years, which is a very typical question, where I said I want to start up again. That was my answer. And any other company would think of me as not a very stable person who definitely wants to start something on their own. But they saw through this and they said, we need people like you who like building brands at Absolute, which is the whole mantra of new initiatives, which is part of Absolute Foods, where we only talk about newer ideas that can be done. Maybe possible, maybe not, but we'll at least give all of them a try. I am a part of new initiatives as a brand manager. So one of my biggest roles, which is not very typical to a brand manager, is to build out companies from ground. So this is a startup within the startup. We are supposed to work on ideas, however impossible they may seem, and find out a way to achieve that. So what I've learned I think I've been there 5 months now, and what I've learned apart from does gravity exist or why do plants grow towards the sky, towards the sun, I've also learned how to find out problems which nobody else sees and then work on those solutions. And see that there's an infinite possibilities, especially in this space that we are in, and especially towards the vision that Absolute is going after.
Got it. We'll get there.
Yes.
We'll get there, step by step. So your first interview was with the CHRO.
Yes.
Then you interviewed with the
Director of
New Initiatives. Yes. And did you speak with the founder as well?
No, I didn't. I could not speak then, which I still regret. But then after that, we've had, Agam, the founder, and I have had a lot of conversations around everything from what I want to do to again, all the sciencey things that I didn't think you'd discuss there. One of them, which I'm still learning, is does gravity exist? And I've had about 10 people talk to me about different on different theories.
So it was a brand management role.
Yes.
And there was no interview about marketing?
No.
Interesting. Okay. Why do you think that was the case?
Because you can't ask somebody if they know marketing in 15 minutes, and there are no checklists about, hey, point one is do PHP or no PHP. There are no set rules for this. This is only something you've already displayed in the past, which is what I'd done before. I'd grown brands in that level, and the role was more towards being a micro-entrepreneur, less than just being a brand manager.
Okay.
The nomenclature is brand manager, but it involves much more than just that.
Got it. So they were not looking essentially for somebody who knows marketing or who comes from a branding experience, but someone who is ready to take up new challenges, new initiatives.
That and has shown previous experience, which is what I'd done even before. One thing that I missed was during college, I started something called, you and I did speak about it a little late at night, but then we started something with two of my other classmates called Earth Monkeys, where we helped startups within MU brand themselves. So I had that side of experience and everything that I'd carried on from my entrepreneurial experience. So I'd already shown a little bit in growing brands, but not the technical, or I'd say the typical brand management roles you see in other companies.
Got it. So you had some sort of a portfolio to show for your experience. Got it. Did you also interview at other places?
Yes, I did.
So how did you choose Absolute versus some of the companies, I'm sure, which people know about and use on a daily basis?
Why I chose Absolute was, I'd say the biggest thing was the vision, what they were going after, what we are going after right now. Everything that we do is I'd say, aligns to the bigger goal of bringing nature back to its absolute self. I know it sounds really big right now, but then only small steps from our side can help us, sort of redo what we have done to nature as of now.
No. So let me stop you there, because I have to understand this properly.
Yes.
You mentioned the vision statement, which was inspiring, but tell me, as if I'm a layman on the street, what does Absolute do?
Okay. A very layman way. By the year 2030, we'll have about 10 billion people on this earth, but not enough resources to feed them. And there are no resources growing now. It's only depleting. So there's only an efficient way of using them so that it's sustainable for the upcoming generations to live. So what Absolute is doing is we are taking those smaller steps in various ways to ensure that we can feed our upcoming generations.
So at the end of the day, it's a food company.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
a plant bioscience company. I mean, that's the
Okay.
easiest way to say it, but we are doing much more than just that. We are building out various ways, methods, tactics, inventions to make sure that we grow more efficiently and hence we feed more.
So, I mean,
efficiently.
in the 80s, we had the Green Revolution.
Yes.
Right? Where we were able to grow more food per square kilometer of
Yes.
land.
Yes.
So, is yours the Green Revolution part two?
That's not enough. I mean, when you say you can grow efficiently or you can grow more, that's just not enough. Even then, we'll fall short of food. So how do you even double down on this? Maybe agriculture 2.0. I can.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
If you that's a very blunt way of putting it, but we are doing much more than agriculture. There's so much work on how to make sure that your plants don't need as much soil or as much water as they need right now. How do you make these plants grow much better without giving them
So, plants 2.0.
no nature 2.0.
Okay. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. That makes sense.
We are not playing with nature. We are working with nature to bring it back to what it was supposed to be about 20 years ago. We as mankind have done enough damage and it's not irreparable as of yet. So there are some steps we have to take to ensure that we don't exploit it as much as we've done before.
Got it. So, just to give you an example, is this a right way to think about Absolute? So, let's say rice today is an extremely water depleting crop, right? And that leads to water tables going down like crazy, especially happening in Punjab.
Yes.
So would one of the things, Absolute does many, but would one of the things be whereby they're trying to improve the genetics of the rice crop in a way that rice crop does not require as much water as it did
Yes.
Before?
Yes.
Got it.
That. And how do you use that water efficiently? Most of the times when we see at a rice field or a paddy field, you would see that there's water, there's always
It's
water
slogging,
there.
yeah.
You don't need that. If you ensure that there's enough water running, there's enough, I'd say, cycle of water going, you don't need that much
Standing
water
water.
at once. Yes.
Got it.
No
So it's
plant
also to
requires
develop
that
these
much.
practices
Yes.
rather than just genetics.
Just genetics. That's one part of it. The other part is how do you make sure that the farmers are more self-sufficient? How do they do the best practices that they grow better?
So how does Absolute make money at the end of the day? By selling this research, or is it by actually selling food?
Both.
So how old is the company?
We started in 2015. Again, the research and everything started in 2015, but it's been 3 years that we've gone all out into the technology space of it. It
Got
was
it.
mostly agriculture before, now it's more technology.
Got it. And now 3 years, and I think your latest round was what's publicly been announced?
Yes.
Some
$100 million.
So you raised 100 million. So does that make it a unicorn yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We're at 500 million valuation right now.
Got it.
Again, the vision and the whole organization is somebody who's not running after that. What we really care about is how many lives are we able to enhance, how much can we help restore the nature, and how do we help increase the farmer's potential here.
Got it. Cool. So what's the one North Star metric that as a company you're chasing?
Okay. One of the things is how many lives do we affect at once? And something that is also available in public domain is how we help these farmers increase their yield and quality. The moment you do that, automatically I'd say the money that these farmers receive goes up by that much. So one of the things is how many lives have we touched in terms of farmers, and how many I'd say new inventions or new patents and new discoveries we can do in terms of plants.
Got it. Understood. So where does brand play into all of this?
Yes. So one of the most important things, especially for a company which is doing so much and is not so well known, is to create that connect between Absolute and the other people. The stakeholders could be people, the farmers. It could be the people who want to buy these produce from us. It could be the investors. It could be all the scientists looking at us thinking what we are doing. So what we need as a brand at Absolute, what I do is making sure that the problem we are solving reaches the right target audience. We make sure that the communication is very well aligned to the company's vision. And essentially the whole communication around it is in the same brand tone and voice that Absolute stands for. So there's no, I'd say there's no disparity between two, because we're doing too many things. We have too many verticals.
So can you explain it in a sense of how it is different from the usual marketing or performance marketing that other people might be doing?
I'd say these are two different conversations here right now. For a startup especially, performance marketing and all that also happens in very product-led companies. For us, performance marketing is not necessarily did my marketing reach these many people, because we don't intend to do that. Our products, everything is more B2B and the farmer-led side of it. My performance metric is, hey, was I able to help these people more? And that's a metric which not all the marketers go after. That's a more business side of it than a marketing side of it. For a traditional company, you already have these products built. You already have historical data which you mark your success or failure on. While here, everything you start by yourself, which is what I have done. I went into the organization with a clean slate. I had to start up something along with my director and then build it to a certain level, and making sure that the brand side of it is in alignment with what the parent organization is doing.
Got it. So let me ask you in a different way, right? So which is one company whose brand team you think has done a really good job, where the brand tone and the consistency is there?
One
could be in India or abroad, anywhere.
Yeah. One thing, my favorite product and the brand is also Spotify. Because what they've done is they've kept the user at the center of it. Their ads are not too shosha about, buy my products, all of that. What they talk about is good music for you. My algorithm is very tailored to you. And you suddenly become a loyalist of Spotify. I mean, it's either Apple or Spotify. You'd always see this. It's Swiggy,
it's a
Zomato.
cult. It's a cult.
It's Swiggy, Zomato, and Spotify and Apple Music. So Spotify has created that loyal base who become the brand advocates. So that is what I really like, except their annoying ads, which has now started coming up. But then I don't mind paying them for the tailored experience that they're providing for me. And the kind of music that they already have. I can listen to indie, I can go to rock, I can listen to all of that under one roof. Which other...
So what does Spotify do that, let's say, Ghana does not do? What makes Spotify a better brand than, let's say, Ghana?
For me, the first thing is the repository of music that they have. The other thing is how the moment I've heard a music, they have that technology inbuilt where they after that, they start building playlists for me. So it makes me feel very special where they say, hey, Puja,
no, but that's the technology. That's the technology that's improving your experience. Yes. But as a brand, why is Spotify better as a brand? What has Spotify's branding team done better than Ghana's branding team? That's my question.
I think brand in itself is a accumulation of everything around it. If Ghana could have built a brand, could have built an algorithm better or built a product better, the team would not have to work so hard to sell it, which is what it's doing with 100 collaborations.
Correct.
Didn't need to do that. While Spotify already worked so hard on its product that it made the brand manager's life really easy.
Okay. So I think one brand that I really enjoy in India interacting with is Indigo, the airlines. Okay. Right? So the font that they use everywhere, from their magazines to the boarding passes to even the name tags on people's shirts. I think everything is so consistent, right? That Indigo color is so ubiquitous across the experience. And they're also sort of witty, right? So when you go up the ramp, it actually sort of says something like, walk up the ramp, right? And their call sign is 6E, which is like supposed to be sexy.
Yes.
I think that's what they're trying to... that's what they're trying to do, right? So whenever they say like, welcome to our plane, you actually say, welcome sexy. That's how they sort of say it. So it's kind of fun. So they've made sure that their brand tone is consistent. It's witty throughout the experience. Even boarding passes have some little, limerick.
That's the thing about bigger brands. So when you say Indigo, that's a really big brand. And I'm sure the initial journey, we would not have seen their fails. We are looking at it now when it has already reached a certain level where everything is now aligned. I'm sure there was a time where Indigo was also failing in its branding times. I'm sure the 6C did not fly with everybody. I'm sure there was somebody sitting there and saying,
Correct.
hey, this will not work.
Correct.
Think about a 60-year-old man traveling. I
Correct,
don't
correct. Someone take my offense at it, yeah.
So it's all, I think we're now looking at very established brands. There are smaller brands which need to work. Let's say Cred. I love how they make ads.
So, I mean, taking that Indigo or that Spotify experience further, how are you trying to build the Absolute brand? What is Absolute's voice? What are some of the things that you're doing to build that
So
brand
a
recognition?
couple of things that we really vouch by. I think all of us have a couple of words in our minds which we associate with Absolute. One of them being very empathetic, because we are going after a problem which relates to everybody on this earth. So you can't be a very pompous brand saying, hey, we are doing things, while you have to be more empathetic towards all your stakeholders. One thing that we're going after is being larger than life. We are talking much bigger
So you want to be an empathetic brand?
Yes.
So what are you doing to appear or to come across as one?
So one thing that we know and understand, that not everybody understands our language, or not everybody understands bioscience or plants in this case. So we are providing resources where people can understand this much better, and probably empathetic in a way that we are also providing knowledge to people for this. Apart from that, everything that we do for farmers is very personal. We don't send them messages and say, hey, come, or maybe this is what you need. We send people and talk to them, because the problems that they have is much deeper than something that technology can solve. So having that kind of presence towards your major stakeholders is something that makes us empathetic. Understanding their problem in real time and solving it in a way that they would want, and not how we would want to solve it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what does your day-to-day look like?
Okay.
How is it that you are managing the brand on a daily basis?
Okay. So I manage a couple of verticals under Absolute. So one of my main roles is making sure that all the verticals align to Absolute's voice. The vision that all of us are going after, it's all in the same direction. One brand is not
saying
talking
something
about
else
something else, or in a way that it doesn't align with all the Absolute
Give me an
brands.
example.
Let's say one vertical that I'm working on is more B2B. But I can't talk about technology in a way that is not with, I'd say not
Easily understood by
others. So the way that we talk about that brand also is first bring Absolute to the forefront, talk about what we have done in the past, and only then get into the bigger vertical of it. So we are always grounded, and then we build up on it.
Got it. So because your audience is, let's say, a very simple farmer.
Yes.
So to be empathetic to him,
Yes.
You essentially, for lack of a better word, dumb down all of your literature such that that farmer can easily assimilate it.
Yes. As simple as if you send them some reports, if it's in any other language than they understand, it's of absolutely no use. Even though you have done everything right there. If you send it to them in English or Hindi, or it has too much text, you've automatically lost that part of it, and they will start thinking of you as somebody who is non-approachable.
Got it. So one of your roles essentially is to make sure that Absolute's brand stands for empathy, and whatever needs to be done in terms of communication to represent that empathetic brand, you do that.
One of it, yes. Right. So empathy is one
Second
part of it. The other part is that we are doing something very visionary. We are going after things which not everyone has thought about. So how do you marry being empathetic and being a visionary? So that is a brilliant place to be.
So you're approachable, yet you're not approachable.
Yes.
Okay.
When do you stop being approachable?
Okay. So give me an example for that. How do you project the fact that you are a visionary as a brand, yet empathetic?
Sure. So visionary automatically happens from the kind of brands or the products that you're building, and how you talk about it. You're not pompous about the things that you're doing, and you're making it very accessible for everybody. Even though you're building something probably worth $1 million, you don't keep it to yourself and then say, hey, I'm going to capitalize on it later. You make it accessible for everybody, which you know could help them. Apart from that, the way you talk about things. So everything that happens in my company is always about, hey, look at the bigger picture. If you're talking about a simple bug or a simple thing that happens on the tech side of it, you need to know how it relates to the bigger picture of Absolute. So even the internal communication, we are always encouraged to look at the the biggest picture there ever is, and then work towards it.
Interesting. So the empathy, large picture / large vision. Third?
The other thing would be being more entrepreneurial, taking things. So what we're also doing is we're also empowering these farmers to do more things. That is another vision, or that's another value that everyone at Absolute lives by. Everyone is given enough freedom to fail fast and learn faster. That is something that we also keep talking about in our internal communications and even outside, that we're going to do a lot of experiments really quickly because we don't have enough time on our hands, which makes all of us run against time to find out solutions to problems that we didn't know existed.
Got it. One thing I've realized, Puja, is that the word brand management is thrown around very casually. And a lot of people actually use branding and marketing sort of in a way that is the same thing.
Yes.
So what I want to address with you is, what is brand management and how it is different from traditional marketing, and give me examples from, real brands, real companies.
Sure. So like you said, not everybody knows what brand management is. It's exactly what people think of product management. Nobody knows what that is, but it has suddenly become one of the most coveted jobs.
Correct.
So let me just break it down for you in the simplest way for everyone listening on what brand management is. The first thing that you need to know is a brand manager becomes the CEO of the brand. The other thing is you're the custodian of the brand. You decide and you uphold the integrity of the brand. If I have to again break it down to the 4 things that a brand manager does, the first thing is to find out what your target user wants. Making sure all the marketing campaigns, all your branding campaigns are all in alignment to the brand vision and what your target audience wants. The third thing is implementing it in the market. Is it reaching your target user? Is your brand being perceived the same way that you want it to be? And the fourth thing is learn from everything that you've done before and redo it if it doesn't work for you, or find out other ways to do the same thing. So first thing is analyze, create, I'd say
distribute,
distribute,
measure,
and then redo.
Right.
I'm saying redo because most of the times it
have
doesn't
to go
work.
back. Right.
Yes.
All the learnings that you've had, you have to go apply them.
Yes.
So give me an example of a brand that you think has done a good job of branding and a brand that has done not such a good job of branding.
Again, let's talk. When you say branding, I'm only going to talk about how we look at it and not the product.
Yeah, not the product, yes.
A great brand that comes to my mind, I love Instamart. I'm not going to say Swiggy as of now. I really like Instamart because it talks directly to the user in the language that they understand. You're there for a reason, and that's exactly what you tell people. You don't beat around the bush by telling or talking about what Blinkit does. It talks 100 other things, apart from telling that I'm going to give you your products in less than 10 minutes. Swiggy Instamart tried doing these things very covertly. Nobody knew that Instamart also came back in the market with 10 minutes. What it did is they started sending out people things along with their Swiggy orders. So if you order something from Swiggy, let's say a pizza, they'll send you a small Swiggy Instamart package.
But that's marketing.
So that's how they built their brand. By talking about people that, hey, we are in this business too, without shouting out loud. Like Blinkit said, hey, Grofers is now Blinkit. We're going to give you your products or we're going to send your grocery in 10 minutes. Instamart did it very softly, and it became part of everybody's life after that. So I like brands which are subtle.
In your face.
They're very subtle, and yes, they don't shout.
Okay, so let's talk about Masters Union as a brand, right? How do you think we have done in terms of positioning ourselves?
I'd say I was sold on this side of it because you knew the strengths and you played on them. Talking about, hey, 16 month ke baad you'll get this kind of job was never ever part of the brand. It always spoke about come learn with us. These are the kind of people you would learn from. This is the networking that you'll build, and everything else then follows. So I think being true to your target user was something that worked really well in MU's favor, and everyone in my batch only came because we were sold the right things.
Yeah, because there were no placements at the time.
Yes, exactly. So you don't have to promise things which you think can happen at the end. You knew the things that we had, and we double down on that. And exactly what we're doing now also. I think after that, even the second batch was something like that.
Yeah, because they also did not have
placement
placement.
reports. So again, what we then used was the power of people who are already in campus. Apart from the masters, talk about the people who are there and talk about their experience. So making it more student-led also helped in sort of building a brand around the second batch. And I think I was talking to some of the upcoming cohort, and that's what I told them. You should go talk to Pratham to ask about how do you build or how do you make brand advocates. Not everybody has had similar experiences Masters Union, but if you talk to them about it, they'll only have good things to say at the end of it. So how do you build that loyalty is something which Masters Union did it quite early on.
Got it. No, thanks. Thanks for that. You made my day. I think, so finally, one thing I wanted to ask you is, what does your day look like? If I want to be a brand manager, how can I visualize my day, my week, my month?
So one, it looks or it sounds very, very fancy. And I think you and I have had a lot of conversations around brands. So one thing I remember from our conversation was, you're not going to be the one making the ads. You're not the one sitting there and directing those ads and getting celebrities on board. You're the ones who make sure that the budget that is going out from your brand doesn't overshoot what you're already assigned. So a brand manager, because like I said, you become the CEO of the company, you have so many other parts to look at. Not just marketing
CEO of the brand.
is one, CEO of the brand. You sort of become, you have things to look beyond just marketing. You also have to look at numbers. You also have to look at sentiments of your users. You have to look at stakeholder management. You have to make sure that the promises you're making to the parent company, you stand by it and you achieve those things for your brand.
Custodianship, as you mentioned.
Yes. It's a lot of Excel sheets.
I'm going to pause you there. You have to tell me, what does your day look like? So let's say you have 8 hours in a day or 10 hours in a day. I don't know how hard you work. Let's assume 10 hours. How are those 10 hours split?
Okay. So for me, again, my brand management role is a little different than other brand managers. For me, it's a lot of brainstorming. Every day, at least 20-30% of it goes in brainstorming. Then making sure we put down plans of execution on that.
This is brainstorming on how we
Ideas,
can
campaigns,
propagate the brand better, essentially.
Yes, how to grow the brand better. How do you reach your target audience better? Are we doing it in the right way? What we did, look at what you've done in the past and then create more learnings from them and work on that.
So you're not essentially running Google ads, but you figure out and you brainstorm as to how you can reach your customers through channels other than Google ads, right?
Yes. So depends on the industry again. If I'm in a B2C brand, maybe Google ads or Facebook ads or all of that becomes very important part of your day. For me, it's a completely different ball game. For me, it's about creating businesses and making sure it reaches the audience without using a lot of digital marketing here. For me, it's a lot of offline marketing, creating videos which helps make my target users' lives easier. Creating campaigns in languages that they understand, talking to stakeholders because this is a very on-field
Right. So that's 20%. 20-30% goes into ideating, strategizing, brainstorming.
Yes, on what has to be done next. The other 20-30% is what we have discussed, what we have brainstormed. We have to put it in action. Then the rest of it is more towards what new can be done. It's a lot of I wouldn't say brainstorming, but more ideating towards newer things that can be done. Finding out avenues where we have not existed before. Finding out business verticals that can offshoot from what we are doing right now. Finding out if we can pivot already. Finding out who else can I meet. Talking to more people about in the industry, outside of the industry, who can help me add value to what I'm doing right now. And then rest of it, I'd say about 10-20% I also spend talking to people in the company to understand what they are doing so that I have a more holistic view of the organization. This is usually how it looks. A month in total looks like starting a business and scaling it up as much as you can.
Got it. So essentially you have your KPI, right? Or a KRA, whatever. And then your role is to sort of lead that and own it. And whatever, from ideating to executing it, you have to do. Got it.
A good thing about working in startups, especially companies like Absolute, is you don't have KPIs, you create them for yourselves. you create these brands and you know what you'll do best. And the moment you've started doing it, the ownership is of a different level. Nobody is telling you this is what you have to do. You have told this is what I'm going to do.
Got it. Understood. So tell me one thing which is the most exciting aspect of your role as a brand manager, and one thing that you don't enjoy as much.
One thing is the kind of lives that I can touch through everything that I'm doing. One thing that I don't like is Excel. I do not like spreadsheets a lot, but I'm trying harder. MU helped me get over the fear of numbers, but I'm still learning that. Yes, numbers is what I really don't like.
So if I want a role in brand management today, what would be your advice to me if I've just started, let's say, my MBA or my studies?
First thing is you need to want to talk to people. Your communication skill becomes really, really important because you have to talk to way too many people. You have to talk to all your stakeholders to understand what they want, and only then you can create something for them. The other thing is good, like I said, stakeholder management. You need to know how to work with teams across the board.
But how can one learn that?
By doing this. I think communication is something you need to be very passionate about. If you don't like talking to people, maybe brand management is not for you.
Got it.
Stakeholder management is when you start doing this, when you start working at some company, or you don't automatically become a brand manager. You do some sort of marketing before you become a brand manager. The other thing is that you should know the bigger picture. You should know what you're going after. The moment you know your end goal is how you can create that journey for yourself.
Got it. No, but if I'm starting my program at Masters Union or any other business school, what should I focus on? What courses should I focus on? What are the kind of assignments I should focus on? What kind of clubs should I join?
Okay, so the one thing that definitely look at marketing analytics very, very seriously. Very seriously.
Sorry, what? Marketing
analytics.
Okay.
It was, I think it helped me quite a bit to understand what numbers mean. You have to be able to gain those insights really quickly so that you can work on them. The other thing is focus on all the marketing courses that are there, especially consumer behavior. It sounds very philosophical and all of that, but then consumer behavior is the one which will help you be more empathetic towards your target users. Apart from that, the kind of things that you should do is, because Masters Union facilitates a lot of entrepreneurship, find those startups and see how you can help them while you're in college. That will give you the experience and it will help those startups grow in even the smallest way that it could. The clubs that you should join, I'd say marketing club would be, I mean, it's a very obvious choice, but also look at consulting club. Even if you don't want to become a consultant, it's always good to have that structured thought in your head. And consulting case preparations do this to you. It's okay if you don't want to go into the MBB, but know how do you create those frameworks around it.
Awesome. Got it. So last question, and I promise I already said last twice, but is there something that you regret? In terms of, I wish I had learned that back in the day. I wish I'd done something differently. I missed out on something through your MBA program or even, before that.
Okay, I'll stick to MU for now, so because then it'll be more recent for everybody.
Sure.
Something that all of us really take for granted is the pre-reads that are given to us. I think it's a very trivial thing, but then the moment you do those pre-reads, the kind of confidence that you have when you enter the classroom and the kind of learning that you'll have is completely phenomenal. And the other thing that I regret and I really think I should have paid more attention to is economics. I think economics forms, it makes you a wiser person in general. You can have better conversations with people if you know economics really well. And we had brilliant professors. I wish I had leveraged that a little bit more.
So do you think that would have helped you better in brand management as well?
Yes, definitely. Economics is everywhere. In the smallest thing to the biggest thing, economics is something you have to take care of all the time. As simple as supply and demand. That's when you become a better brand manager.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Puja. This was very enriching. I learned a lot of new things about you, which I did not know before. And of course, about Absolute and your role as a brand manager there. Thanks so much for taking time out.
My pleasure.
Super excited.
Yes.